The bus ride to my parents' house for Thanksgiving had been quiet. I'd chosen the window seat, watching the city roll past while other passengers dozed or scrolled through their phones. It wasn't the most glamorous entrance, but it served my purposes perfectly. Growing up, I'd always been the practical daughter. While my sister Emma collected luxury cars like accessories, I'd been content with public transportation, walking, or the occasional rideshare. Mom had interpreted this as failure. Dad had turned it into a running joke at every family gathering. "Remember when you were 16 and said you'd never need a car?" Mom had laughed at my college graduation. Still standing by that ridiculous claim? I'd simply smiled and changed the subject. There was no point in explaining that I didn't need a car when I was already planning something much bigger. By 23, I'd founded Transglobal Aviation with a single leased helicopter and a dream. I'd seen the gap in the market: emergency medical transport, executive travel, disaster relief coordination. Nobody was doing it efficiently. Nobody was thinking big enough. I thought bigger. At 28, my company operated across 14 countries. We'd started with helicopters, expanded to private jets, acquired 3 regional airlines, and built the infrastructure that kept it all running smoothly. Our emergency medical transport division had saved thousands of lives. Our executive fleet served Fortune 500 CEOs who paid premium rates for privacy and efficiency. The valuation had hit $2.8 billion last quarter. My family had no idea. I pulled up to their suburban home at exactly 2 p.m. The bus stop was 2 blocks away, perfectly calculated. Emma's white Tesla was already in the driveway, next to her red Mercedes and the black Range Rover she'd bought last month. 3 cars for one person who lived alone. There she is. Mom opened the door with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Did the bus run on time? I know how unreliable public transportation can be. It was fine, Mom. You really should let your father help you with a down payment on a used car, she continued, ushering me inside. Something practical. A Honda maybe. It's embarrassing, honey. You're 30 years old. Actually 31, but who was counting? The house smelled like turkey and judgment. Emma was already in the living room, perfectly styled in designer clothes, scrolling through her phone. She looked up when I entered, her expression shifting to something between pity and superiority. "Oh, you made it. Did you have to take 2 buses? I know the routes can be confusing." "Just one, actually." Dad emerged from his study, drink in hand. "The transit rider returns. Emma, did you show your sister your new Range Rover? Top of the line. That's what success looks like." I set my bag down carefully. "It's very nice." "Nice." Dad laughed. "It's a $120,000 vehicle. Meanwhile, you're spending what, $2.50 per bus ride? Really putting that college education to work." My phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. "I worry about you," Mom said, genuine concern creeping into her voice. "What happens when you need to go somewhere important? Job interviews? Business meetings? You can't show up on a bus." "I manage fine." "She's probably too proud to admit she can't afford anything better," Emma stage whispered to Dad. "Remember when she said she was building a business? What was it, some app idea?" "Aviation logistics," I corrected quietly. Right. How's that going?" "Still building?" I checked my watch. 2:17 p.m. "It's going well, actually." "Well enough to afford a car yet?" Dad pressed. "Because I'm serious about that Honda offer. Nothing fancy, but it would be better than public transportation at your age." The annual Thanksgiving interrogation had begun early this year. Usually they waited until after appetizers. Uncle Frank and Aunt Patricia arrived next, followed by my cousins Marcus and Jennifer. More cars filled the driveway, a parade of automotive status symbols. Marcus drove a new Audi. Jennifer had just leased a Lexus. Even Aunt Patricia made a point of mentioning her upgraded BMW. "How did you get here, sweetie?" Aunt Patricia asked, kissing my cheek. "Bus," Emma answered for me, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "She doesn't drive." "Oh." Aunt Patricia's face arranged itself into practiced concern. "Well, there's no shame in that. Some people are just late bloomers." I smiled and accepted the hug. Dinner prep became a showcase of everything I supposedly lacked. Emma talked about her car collection, casually mentioning insurance costs that exceeded most people's monthly rent. Marcus discussed his new Audi's performance features. Jennifer complained about the Lexus dealership's customer service. And every few minutes someone would remember to ask me about my commute. Do you have to stand on the bus? Cousin Jennifer asked. During rush hour? That must be exhausting. I usually get a seat. What about when it rains? Marcus added. Or snows. Bus stops don't have much shelter. I dress appropriately for the weather. Still, Mom interjected, it's not safe. A woman your age alone at bus stops. Anything could happen. Dad nodded gravely. That's what I keep telling her. A car is safety. Independence. Adulthood. I'm quite safe, Dad. Are you, though? Emma leaned against the kitchen counter, perfectly manicured nails tapping her wine glass. Because last week, there was a story about a woman assaulted at a bus stop downtown. It's dangerous out there for someone without resources. The implication hung in the air. Without money. Without means. Without the ability to protect myself through the armor of a personal vehicle. My phone buzzed again. I glanced at it briefly, a message from my VP of operations. I typed a quick response and pocketed it. Always on that phone, Aunt Patricia observed. Important business call? Just coordinating some logistics. For your, what was it? Aviation thing? Uncle Frank had joined us, beer in hand. How's that working out? Emma mentioned you've been at it for years. 8 years, actually. 8 years. He whistled low. And still taking the bus. Maybe it's time to consider that the business model isn't working. I stirred the cranberry sauce I'd been assigned. The model works fine. Then why? Dad gestured vaguely at me as if my entire existence was evidence of failure. Why are you still living like a college student? No car, no house. Emma said you rent a studio apartment. I rent an apartment, yes. A studio, Emma emphasized. In a questionable neighborhood. Meanwhile, I just closed on a condo in the new waterfront development. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, parking for all my cars. That's wonderful, Emma. You could be happy for your sister without being so defensive, Mom chided. We're just concerned about you. Your father and I lie awake wondering if you're going to be okay. I turned to face her fully. I'm going to be fine, Mom. How can you say that? You're 30 years old. 31. 31, sorry, and you have nothing to show for it. No car, no property, no husband, no stability. Just this fantasy about an aviation business that clearly isn't generating income. The kitchen fell silent except for the bubbling of pots on the stove. I have stability, I said quietly. Where? Dad spread his hands. Show me the stability. Show me one concrete thing that proves you're not wasting your life on some pipe dream. Emma smirked into her wine glass. My phone buzzed insistently. I checked it again. Another message from operations, this one flagged urgent. I typed back. Proceed as scheduled. ETA 45 minutes. More logistics. Marcus air quoted with his fingers. What kind of logistics require this much phone attention on Thanksgiving? The kind that keep things running smoothly. Things, Jennifer repeated. You're always so vague about what you actually do. I coordinate transportation services. Like Uber. Aunt Patricia's eyes lit up. Are you an Uber driver? Honey, there's no shame in that. Gig economy work is perfectly respectable. I don't drive for Uber. Then what? Can we just focus on dinner? I interrupted, checking the turkey temperature. This needs another 20 minutes. But they couldn't let it go. They never could. We moved to the living room for appetizers and the inquisition continued. Emma positioned herself as the successful daughter, the one who'd made something of herself. She casually mentioned her car payment, $1,800 monthly, as if it were pocket change. She talked about the parking garage at her condo building, climate-controlled and secure. That's more than your rent, isn't it? She asked me with feigned innocence. Your car payment would be more than your entire monthly rent? I don't have a car payment. Exactly. Because you can't afford one. It's okay to admit it, you know. Not everyone can be successful. Dad was on his 3rd whiskey. I just don't understand what went wrong. We raised you the same as Emma. Same schools, same opportunities. He thrived. Well. She was always different, Mom added sadly. Remember how she'd spend hours at the airport as a kid? Watching planes. We thought it was cute. Didn't realize it was obsessive. I liked aviation. Still do. Liking something and building a viable career from it are two different things, Uncle Frank offered sagely. I liked basketball as a kid. Didn't mean I should have pursued the NBA. Marcus laughed. Maybe if her aviation business was real, she'd at least have a company car by now. Do you even have business cards? Jennifer asked. A website. I tried to Google you once. Nothing came up. I smiled. We maintain a low profile. Low profile, Emma scoffed. That's code for, doesn't exist. Face it, you've wasted almost a decade on a fantasy. Meanwhile, real life is passing you by. My phone rang this time. I glanced at the screen. Captain Rodriguez Fleet Command. Excuse me, I said, stepping toward the hallway. Really? Emma called after me. You're taking a call during Thanksgiving? I answered on the third ring. Go ahead, Captain. Ma'am, we're 40 minutes out from the coordinates you provided. Weather is clear. Should we maintain current approach or circle? Maintain approach. Standard formation. Landing zone is the large backyard at the address I sent. Confirm GPS coordinates. Confirmed. 3 helicopters in formation, ETA 38 minutes to your location. Perfect. See you soon, Captain. I ended the call and returned to the living room. Everyone was staring. Work call, I explained simply. Work, Dad repeated flatly. Right. Your imaginary aviation business. What could possibly require a call on Thanksgiving? Mom demanded. Can't your logistics wait one day? Unfortunately, no. Emma stood up, her expression triumphant. This is ridiculous. You're delusional. You're pretending to be someone you're not, and it's honestly sad. We're your family. You can drop the act. I'm not acting. Then prove it. She crossed her arms. Prove you have this big important aviation business. Show us one shred of evidence. The room went silent. Everyone was watching me now, waiting for me to crumble, to admit the truth they'd already decided was fact. I checked my watch. 3:42 p.m. 33 minutes. You'll see soon enough. See what? Dad stood up too, his face flushed with alcohol and frustration. What are we going to see? Another bus? Some fake business card you printed at FedEx. Paul, Mom touched his arm. Maybe we're being too hard. Too hard. Well, we've been too soft. We've let her live in this fantasy world for 8 years. 8 years of pretending to run a business while taking the bus to Thanksgiving dinner. He turned to me. It's time to grow up. Accept reality. You're not a success. You're not a business owner. You're a 31-year-old woman with no car, no assets, and no future. Marcus had his phone out. I'm Googling her company name right now. Transglobal Aviation. What do you bet nothing comes up? He typed, waited, then frowned. There's a company by that name, but it's a huge operation. International. They have contracts with governments and Fortune 500 companies. That can't be yours. I said nothing. Right. He looked up. That's not your company. That's just coincidence. Same name. Jennifer leaned over his shoulder. It says they're valued at $2.8 billion. Private ownership. Primary operations in emergency medical transport, executive travel and disaster relief. See. Emma pointed triumphantly. Same name, different company. She's probably a receptionist there or something. That's the aviation logistics she does. I don't work reception, I said calmly. Then what? Mailroom? IT support. My phone buzzed. Another text from Captain Rodriguez. 28 minutes out. All systems nominal. You still haven't proven anything, Dad said. In fact, you've proven our point. Their IS a Transglobal Aviation, but it's obviously not yours. You're just borrowing the name, or you work there in some entry-level position. I founded Transglobal Aviation 8 years ago, I said quietly. Started with one leased helicopter and a business plan. Built it from there. The room erupted in laughter. You. Emma could barely speak through her giggles. You founded a $2.8 billion company? That's impossible, Uncle Frank stated flatly. That kind of wealth would be visible. You'd have a car. A house. Something to show for it. I have several houses actually. And cars. I just don't use them often. More laughter. Harder this time. This is pathetic, Marcus said. She's doubling down on the delusion. Mom looked genuinely worried now. Sweetheart, maybe you should talk to someone. A therapist. This level of fantasy isn't healthy. I'm not fantasizing. Then show us proof, Dad demanded. Right now. Pull up bank statements, ownership documents, something real. I checked my watch. 24 minutes. You'll have your proof shortly. What does that mean? Emma stalked toward me. Stop being cryptic. Either you own this company or you don't. Which is it? I own it. Prove it. In about 23 minutes you'll have all the proof you need. Jennifer was still scrolling on Marcus's phone. It says the founder and CEO's name isn't public. The company is privately held, very secretive. But there's a board of directors listed. No women on it. The board reports to me, I explained. I don't sit on it myself. Conflict of interest. More laughter. This is unbelievable, Aunt Patricia said. She's actually committed to this lie. My phone rang again. I answered immediately. Ma'am, we have a slight concern, Captain Rodriguez said. The landing zone you specified. It's a residential backyard. We need to confirm you have clearance for this approach. Neighbors might. I have clearance, Captain. The property owner is aware. The property owner? Me. I own the house. There was a pause. You own your parents' house? Purchased it 3 years ago. They don't know yet. Long story. Proceed with landing. Understood, ma'am. 18 minutes out. I ended the call to find everyone staring again. Who was that? Mom asked suspiciously. My fleet captain. He's confirming the landing approach. Landing, Dad repeated slowly. Landing what? Where? Here. 3 helicopters. 17 minutes. The room exploded. She's insane, Emma declared. Actually insane. She thinks helicopters are landing here. This has gone too far, Mom said. We need to get her help. Professional help. I don't need help. I need you to wait 17 minutes. Marcus stood up. I'll prove she's lying. I'll go outside right now and wait. When no helicopters show up, maybe she'll finally admit. Fine, I interrupted. Everyone go outside. We can have appetizers on the back patio. The weather's nice. You want us to go outside? Jennifer asked slowly. To watch. Nothing happen? To watch 3 helicopters land in formation. In our backyard? Dad looked at me like I'd lost my mind. You're saying 3 helicopters are going to land in our backyard in 15 minutes? 16 now, actually. Emma grabbed her coat. Fine. Let's go outside. Let's all watch nothing happen. And then maybe finally you'll stop this ridiculous charade. We filed outside to the back patio. The yard was large. One of the reasons I'd bought the house when it went up for sale 3 years ago. My parents had been struggling with the mortgage, though they'd never admitted it to me. The bank had been ready to foreclose. I'd purchased it through a shell company, then leased it back to them at a rate they could afford. They'd thought the bank had restructured their loan. They had no idea their daughter owned their home. So we're doing this, Marcus said, checking his phone. We're actually standing outside in November waiting for imaginary helicopters. It's not that cold, I observed. That's not the point. Emma was nearly shrieking now. The point is you're delusional. You're mentally ill. You need help. Honey, Mom approached carefully like I was a wild animal. It's okay to admit you made this all up. We'll get you help. Find you a good therapist. Maybe some medication. I don't need medication. Then where are these helicopters? Dad demanded. It's been 5 minutes. Where are they? I checked my watch. Still 11 minutes out. Captain Rodriguez is very punctual. Jennifer had her phone up filming. I'm recording this. When nothing happens, I'm posting it everywhere. You'll be a cautionary tale about delusion and mental health. That's cruel, Jennifer, Aunt Patricia said. But she didn't tell her to stop filming. We stood in silence. The sun was getting lower, casting long shadows across the yard. It really was a nice property. Half an acre, mature trees, good sight lines. Excellent for helicopter landings. This is absurd, Uncle Frank muttered. Standing in the cold for a woman's fantasy. 8 minutes, I said quietly. Stop it, Emma snapped. Stop pretending. Just stop. My phone buzzed. I glanced at it. Captain Rodriguez, 7 minutes out. Visual confirmed on landing zone. Beautiful property, by the way. I smiled. What? Mom demanded. What are you smiling at? Captain Rodriguez says you have a beautiful property. Who the hell is Captain Rodriguez? Dad exploded. There is no Captain Rodriguez. There are no helicopters. There is no aviation company. You're a failure and you're making us all complicit in your delusion. Paul, please. Mom clutched his arm. Don't be so harsh. Harsh. I'm being honest. Something this family apparently stopped doing years ago. We've been enabling this fantasy and look where it's gotten us. Standing in the backyard waiting for. He stopped. We all heard it. The distant thrum of helicopter rotors. That's. Jennifer lowered her phone. That's not. The sound grew louder. Emma's face drained of color. That's coincidence. Someone's flying over. 3 someones, I corrected. In formation. Marcus was turning in circles, scanning the sky. I don't see anything yet. 5 minutes out, I said, checking my phone. They're approaching from the northeast. The sound intensified. Deep, rhythmic, unmistakable. This is impossible, Dad said weakly. Then we saw them. 3 helicopters crested the tree line, sleek and black, moving in perfect formation. The setting sun glinted off their polished surfaces. They were beautiful. Sikorsky S-70 SAXS, the flagship of my executive fleet. Each one worth $13 million. Oh my God, Aunt Patricia whispered. No, Emma breathed. No. The helicopters began their descent, rotors whipping the trees into a frenzy. The noise was deafening. My family stood frozen, mouths open, as $39 million worth of aircraft prepared to land in their backyard. The backyard I owned. The first helicopter touched down perfectly right where I'd specified. The second and third followed, forming a precise triangle pattern on the grass. The rotors began to slow, the noise dropping to a manageable level. The doors opened. Captain Rodriguez emerged first, his uniform crisp and professional. He was followed by 5 other crew members, pilots, co-pilots, flight engineers, all wearing Transglobal aviation uniforms, all moving with military precision. Rodriguez approached me directly, saluting. Ma'am. Fleet delivered as requested. All systems operational. We're ready when you are. I returned the salute casually. Thank you, Captain. Excellent approach. No issues. None, ma'am. Weather cooperated beautifully. Though I admit, this is the first time we've landed at a private residence for a Thanksgiving pickup. There's a first time for everything. He smiled. Indeed. Should we wait on board or would you prefer we maintain standby here? Standby is fine. I'll need about 20 minutes. Understood. He saluted again, then gestured to his crew. They spread out, conducting post-landing checks with professional efficiency. I turned to my family. Nobody was moving. Nobody was speaking. They were statues frozen in shock. So, I said pleasantly. Who wants a tour? Emma made a sound like a dying animal. This isn't. Dad couldn't finish the sentence. You don't own a $2.8 billion aviation company? I finished for him. Actually, I do. Founded it 8 years ago. We operate in 14 countries. 327 aircraft total. 244 helicopters, 83 private jets. We employ over 2,000 people worldwide. Marcus's phone slipped from his hand. These 3 helicopters? I gestured at the aircraft. Part of our executive fleet. We have 71 more just like them. Plus 42 Gulfstream jets, 23 Bombardier Globals, and 18 Boeing business jets for our ultra-high net worth clients. But, Mom's voice was tiny. But you take the bus. I take the bus because I choose to. Carbon footprint. Also, it's good to stay grounded. No pun intended. Captain Rodriguez approached again. Ma'am, operations is on the line. They need guidance on the Singapore contract. I nodded. Tell them to proceed with the terms we discussed. $95 million over 3 years with the option to extend. Understood. He stepped away, speaking into his radio. $95 million, Aunt Patricia repeated faintly. The Singapore government wants exclusive access to 15 helicopters for their emergency medical services. I explained. It's good business. We already have similar contracts with Japan, Australia, and the UAE. Jennifer was still filming, but her hands were shaking so badly the footage would be unwatchable. You really? Emma couldn't seem to form complete thoughts. You actually own this company? Yes. Founded it with my own capital from a small inheritance from Grandma Chen. She left me $200,000 when I was 23. Everyone told me to buy a house. I leased a helicopter instead. That's insane, Uncle Frank whispered. It was calculated risk. I saw the market gap. I had the knowledge. Remember all those hours at the airport you mocked me for? I was learning, studying, planning. By year 2 I had 3 helicopters in my first government contract. By year 5 I'd expanded internationally. Last quarter we grossed $840 million in revenue. The silence was broken only by helicopter rotors winding down and the sound of Marcus throwing up in the bushes. Why? Mom's question came out as a sob. Why didn't you tell us? I met her eyes. Because every time I tried you dismissed me. Still building that business. When are you getting a real job? Stop living in fantasy land. So I stopped trying. I built my empire in silence while you counted Emma's cars. That's not fair, Emma said weakly. We didn't know. You didn't want to know. There's a difference. I turned to Captain Rodriguez. I'll need manifest updates for all 3 aircraft. Thanksgiving dinner to go, I think. Ma'am. The turkey's ready. I'm taking it with me. Probably the sweet potato casserole too. My crew deserves a proper Thanksgiving meal. You're leaving. Dad found his voice. You just got here. I've been here for 2 hours. 2 hours of being mocked for not owning a car while literally owning 327 aircraft. I think I'm done. Wait, Jennifer lowered her phone. You said you own this property? I smiled. Bought it 3 years ago when the bank was about to foreclose. I've been leasing it back to Mom and Dad at below market rates. You're welcome, by the way. Dad's face went from pale to crimson. We've been paying rent to you? Technically to Trans Global Properties, my real estate subsidiary. But yes. I own your house. Also own 3 resorts in Hawaii, a hotel chain in Thailand, and an apartment complex in Manhattan. Diversification is important. Mom sat down hard on the patio chair. This is too much. This is all too much. It is a lot, I agreed. Which is why I don't usually bring it up at family dinners. But you insisted on proof. So, proof. I gestured at the helicopters. Satisfied. Emma was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. I don't understand. How is this possible? You're younger than me. You've always been the failure. The disappointment. I was never the failure. You just decided I was because I didn't perform success the way you expected. 3 cars, Emma. You own 3 cars and live in a studio condo. I own a transportation empire and choose to take the bus. We're not the same. Captain Rodriguez returned. Ma'am, Singapore confirmed. Also, we have 3 requests for emergency medical transport. 1 in Colorado, 1 in British Columbia, 1 in Scotland. Should I reroute available units? Colorado and BC, yes. Scotland can wait 2 hours. Check with Edinburgh base first, they might have availability. Already on it. He paused. Also, your board wants to schedule a call for tomorrow. The Amazon acquisition. Tomorrow's Friday. Tell them Monday. I'm taking the weekend off. Understood. He walked away. I turned back to my family. Amazon acquisition? Uncle Frank asked weakly. Their aviation division. We're in talks to purchase their cargo air fleet. 42 aircraft, solid infrastructure, good synergy with our existing operations. Should close by March if the numbers work out. Marcus had returned from the bushes, wiping his mouth. I'm going to wake up, right? This is a nightmare. It's Thanksgiving, I said cheerfully. A day for gratitude. I'm grateful for the family that taught me I'd never amount to anything. Really motivated me to prove you wrong. That's cruel, Mom said. Is it? Let's review. In the last 2 hours, you've called me pathetic, delusional, mentally ill, a failure, an embarrassment, and a waste of potential. You've laughed at my life choices, mocked my career, and suggested I needed medication for my fantasies. I've been nothing but honest and you've been nothing but dismissive. I walked toward the first helicopter. Captain Rodriguez opened the door for me. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a $2.8 billion company to run. Captain, let's pack up that turkey. The crew's been flying for 6 hours. They deserve a proper meal. Wait. Dad lurched forward. You can't just leave. We need to talk about this. About everything. I paused in the helicopter doorway. What's to talk about? You wanted proof. You got it. You wanted me to show you one concrete thing. I showed you 3 helicopters and a transportation empire. We're done here. But the house, Mom stood up. You own our house. We've been paying rent to our own daughter. You've been paying below market rent on a house you could no longer afford. I saved you from foreclosure, protected your credit, and gave you stability. I did this 3 years ago, and not once, did any of you ask if I needed help, if I was okay, if my business was actually succeeding. You were so certain I was failing that you never considered I might be thriving. Emma's voice was small. We just wanted what was best for you. No. You wanted me to succeed on your terms. Corporate job, nice car, suburban house, conventional life. When I chose a different path, you decided I'd failed without ever asking if I'd actually succeeded. That's not love. That's control. The helicopter's engine began to power up. The other 2 followed suit. What happens now? Jennifer asked, still filming. Now. You go inside and eat your Thanksgiving dinner. You contemplate how badly you misjudged someone you claimed to love. You think about how many times you could have supported me instead of mocking me. And maybe, you learn that success doesn't look the same for everyone. Are you coming back? Mom's voice cracked. For Christmas? For anything? I considered the question. That depends. Can you have a conversation without counting my assets? Without comparing me to Emma's car collection? Without questioning every choice I make? Silence. I'll take that as a no. I climbed into the helicopter fully. Captain Rodriguez, let's go. Where to, ma'am? Corporate headquarters. I have a real estate portfolio to review and an Amazon acquisition to prepare for. And the turkey? Pack it up. Everyone's getting Thanksgiving dinner tonight. It's the least I can do for a crew that flew 600 miles to make a point. He grinned. Best point I've ever helped make, ma'am. The helicopters lifted off in perfect formation, leaving my family standing in the yard, their yard that I owned. Mouths open, minds blown, worldviews shattered. My phone buzzed with messages. Emma, please come back. We need to talk. Jennifer, I'm so sorry. I deleted the video. Marcus, that was the most insane thing I've ever witnessed. And finally, Dad, you're right. We were wrong. About everything. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I texted Captain Rodriguez. Actually, change of plans. Take us to the Hawaii resort. 3-day weekend. Cruise invited. Full pay, full benefits, full turkey dinner on the beach. His response came immediately. You're the best boss we've ever had. I smiled, watching the neighborhood shrink below us. 327 aircraft. 14 countries. 2,000 employees. $2.8 billion in valuation. And not a single car in my name. Because I'd never needed to own a car when I owned the sky. The turkey, as it turned out, was excellent. We ate it on the beach in Hawaii while my family sat in their backyard. My backyard, contemplating how thoroughly they'd misjudged the daughter who took the bus. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving people wrong. It's succeeding so spectacularly that their mockery becomes a punchline to a joke they'll never fully understand. I raised my glass to the sunset, to the helicopters parked on the beach, to the empire I'd built while everyone was busy counting someone else's cars. To family, I said. My crew raised their glasses. To family who actually sees you, Captain Rodriguez amended. We drank to that instead. Much better toast.